You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay.
It was just before 10 o'clock at night when Jakari Martin Sugren walked into Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare carrying his girlfriend. He had not waited for an ambulance, neither had he called 911 from the house. He had put Mya Johnson in his car and driven her to the hospital himself, and by the time medical staff reached them, there was nothing anyone could do. Mya Johnson was 26 years old. She was a mother, a lash technician, and an entrepreneur who had spent years building something real for herself and her two young boys. And on the night of October 22, 2024, she was pronounced dead at 10:22 in the evening, along with the unborn child she had been carrying. Back at the house on River Breeze Lane, investigators arrived to find her sons still inside. Both boys had been home when it happened. Both of them had heard the shot. And when one of those children, no older than 6 years old, was asked what he had seen, he did not hesitate. He shot our mom. Jakari had a very different version of events, and for a while that version was the one shaping how the entire case would be charged. But then the doorbell camera footage came back. Then the ballistics report came back, and suddenly the story he was telling started developing cracks that no explanation could fill.
It's free. I'm gonna pay that dollar. It's $1 now.
This is the story of Mya Johnson, a young woman whose life was stolen on an ordinary Tuesday night, and the case that left her family, her community, and an entire city demanding answers. What really happened inside that house on River Breeze Lane? What had been going on in that relationship long before that night? And how did the man charged with her death end up walking free, while Mya's children grew up without their mother? Mya Johnson was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, a city that shaped her in every way that matters. Chicago has a reputation that tends to precede it in conversation, but the city it raises is a different story entirely. It produces people who know how to survive, how to keep moving when the ground shifts underneath them, and how to build something out of practically nothing. Mya carried that quality with her from the moment she was old enough to carry anything at all. By her mid-20s, Mya had relocated to Tallahassee, Florida, where she was building a life that, on paper, looked like everything she had been working toward. She was a licensed lash technician, an entrepreneur running her own beauty business, and had extended her hustle into a men's clothing line as well. She was the kind of woman who did not wait for permission to create an income stream. If there was a gap and she saw it, she made sure she filled it. Her now Instagram account, @exotic_dimples, showed both the professional side of her work and the personal life she was not shy about sharing with the people who followed her. Mya and Jakari Martin Sugren had been together since around 2021. He was 4 years younger than her, 22 to her 26 at the time of her death. By the time they moved in together on River Breeze Lane off Tower Road in Tallahassee, the relationship had already accumulated a history that those closest to Mya could not ignore. People who knew the couple described a dynamic that had the texture of a relationship held together more by habit and circumstance than by genuine compatibility or peace.
I need to take me a picture, bitch. I'm bad as fuck on my mama, son.
There were arguments, the kind that neighbors could hear through walls. There were control issues that manifested in ways that are deeply familiar to anyone who has studied how abusive patterns take hold. Jakari reportedly monitored Mya's phone, checking who she was talking to and what she was saying, a behavior that is not about love or security, but about dominance. When you need to know who your partner is speaking to at all times, what you are really telling them is that they do not have permission to exist outside of you. That is not a relationship dynamic that gets better on its own. And yet, Mya stayed. She stayed for the reasons that millions of women stay in situations they know are not good for them. She had children who had routines built around a shared home. She had a business that required stability to function. She had likely been through enough instability in her life to understand that walking away from a living situation is never as simple as just walking away.
They put you away.
The nurse, how far do you think the baby dilated? Hun, I really don't feel like you're ready. I think you gotta get like to a 10. Let me check for you.
They want to know where I'm at. I'm outside. They want to know where I'm at.
The math of leaving is complicated when you have small children, limited resources, and someone who has made themselves the center of your daily logistics. People on the outside see the door and wonder why it is not being used. People on the inside know exactly how many things would have to be in place before that door becomes a real option. By October of 2024, Mya was 9 weeks pregnant. The pregnancy sat at the center of a tension that had not been resolved between them. Reports and the framing of this case in the public eye have strongly suggested that Mya did not intend to continue the pregnancy, that she had made clear she was not going to keep the baby, and that this decision was a source of real conflict between her and Jakari. While no official police or court documents have confirmed the specific details of those conversations, the trajectory of the relationship and the events of that night make the tension impossible to dismiss as incidental. Whatever was being negotiated between them in those final weeks had not been settled, and it was still simmering on the night of October 22nd.
Doing the video.
I met her. Where the bread? Let me
Let me see it.
I ain't got none. Let me get you some bread.
I eat the most, but I eat the most.
You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay.
The argument that night started, on the surface, over something that looked small. Jakari claimed that Mya had seen him liking a bikini photo posted by an ex-girlfriend on Instagram. She confronted him about it. This is the part of the story that certain people will want to focus on. They will want to say that she should not have made a big deal out of a social media like, that it was not worth a fight, that she should have let it go. But what that framing misses entirely is that if this scenario actually did happen, then the like on the photo was not the argument. It was the trigger for an argument that had been building for months, maybe years. It was one small representative act of disrespect that stood in for every phone check, every controlling comment, and every time Mya had stayed when she probably should have left. According to Jakari's account to investigators, the argument became physical. He also claimed that during the altercation, a 9mm handgun that he was carrying tucked under his arm discharged accidentally. He said he never intended to fire the weapon and that it was not something he meant to happen. In his telling, the shooting was a tragic accident born out of a physical struggle between two people who were both caught up in an argument that got out of control. The bullet struck Mya once in the chest.
They want to know where I'm at. I'm outside.
Tell my bitch, you trying to be like, bitch, why you lying?
Within 10 minutes, Jakari called 911. He then drove Mya himself to Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, the local hospital, rather than waiting for paramedics to arrive. At 10:22 in the evening, less than an hour after that Instagram notification had set the night in motion, Mya Johnson and her unborn 9-week-old child were pronounced dead. And somewhere in that house on River Breeze Lane, 2 little boys were awake. They had heard the gunshot, and one of them told police investigators 4 words that no child should ever have to say about the person who loved them most. He shot our mom. From the moment detectives began working the scene, Jakari's story started showing its cracks. The first thing investigators looked at was the doorbell camera footage from the residence. What they found was not footage of someone who had just been in a chaotic physical altercation where a gun accidentally discharged and his girlfriend was shot. What the footage showed was Jakari arriving home calmly before the incident. The demeanor captured on that camera did not match the version of events he would later describe to investigators as a sudden, explosive, uncontrolled situation. It matched something else entirely. Then came the ballistics analysis. Forensic examination of the gunshot wound and the trajectory of the bullet was inconsistent with Jakari's account of an accidental discharge while the weapon was tucked under his arm during a struggle. The angle, the distance, and the physical evidence at the scene did not align with the mechanics of an accident. They aligned with a firearm being deliberately aimed and fired.
You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay. It's free. You should have paid that dollar. It's something on down here.
There was also the testimony of the children. The boys had been present in the home. One of them, a child between 5 and 6 years old, had heard the shot and told investigators what he had seen. Children at that age do not construct elaborate false narratives about violence they witness. They report what happened, and what this child reported was not an accident. The combination of doorbell footage, ballistic inconsistencies, and eyewitness testimony from the children gave investigators a picture that was sharply at odds with the story being told by the man who had called 911. The evidence did not describe a tragic accident between two people caught up in a physical argument. The evidence described something far more deliberate. When prosecutors sat down to review the case and determine what charges to file, they faced a decision that would generate significant controversy in Tallahassee and well beyond it. Despite the ballistics evidence, despite the doorbell footage, and despite the child's direct account of what happened that night, prosecutors determined they did not have sufficient evidence to prove criminal intent beyond a reasonable doubt. Murder, under Florida law, requires the prosecution to establish that the defendant intended to kill the victim. The physical evidence told investigators that the shooting was not an accident, but establishing intent in a court of law is a different standard from what the evidence suggested. As a result, Jakari Martin Sugren was charged with 2 counts of manslaughter, 1 for Mya and 1 for her unborn child, and 2 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He was not charged with murder. The reaction to those charges from Mya's family, her community, and domestic violence advocates was immediate and furious. To the people who had followed the case, who had heard the child's testimony, who had seen the ballistic evidence and the doorbell footage, manslaughter felt like the legal system looking for the most generous possible interpretation of what Jakari had done. The gunshot her assailant claimed was in fact not an accident, and the scenario he painted out about her getting angry because he liked another lady's photo on Instagram may possibly not be true. The decision not to pursue murder charges sent a message to a lot of people about whose life the system was working hardest to protect. Bail was initially denied. Given the severity of the charges and the evidence involved, the judge determined that Jakari should remain in custody while the case moved forward.
Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? There you go, baby. Turn that shit over.
That decision did not hold. Bail was later granted at $150,000, and Jakari was released from custody on GPS monitoring while he awaited trial. For the family of a woman and a child who were both dead, watching the man responsible walk out of jail on an ankle monitor was a specific kind of devastation that no legal explanation fully addresses. Then came December of 2025. More than a year after Mya and her unborn child were killed on River Breeze Lane, Jakari Martin Sugren was back in custody. Not because of new developments in Mya's case, not because prosecutors had decided to revisit the charges or upgrade them to reflect what the evidence had always suggested. He was rearrested because he had been stopped in a vehicle by law enforcement and chose to flee. The charges from that incident included fleeing law enforcement during a traffic stop and violating the conditions of his bond. The judge who reviewed the situation revoked his bail and remanded him to custody without the possibility of release.
I don't trust her. If you ain't got no money, don't touch her. Yeah, come on. Act bad, 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 act bad. If you look good, act bad. If you look good, act bad. If you look good, act bad.
We go together now?
Real bad.
Whatever you say.
I like that.
The man who had been allowed to walk out of jail while facing manslaughter charges for the death of a woman and her unborn child had used that freedom to run from the police. The community that had been calling for stronger accountability since October of 2024 had reason to say they had told everyone exactly this would happen. As of March 2026, Jakari Martin Sugren remains in custody. His trial is pending in Leon County Circuit Court, with the next hearing scheduled for April of 2026. No verdict has been reached. The case number is 2024 CF 003456A, and because Leon County does not make its court files publicly accessible online, case information requires in-person access through the clerk of courts. What the trial will ultimately decide is whether the legal system in Leon County is prepared to deliver a verdict that reflects the full weight of what happened on October 22, 2024.
What she need with me? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? There you go, baby. Bring that shit over.
I don't think you're beautiful, I think you're beyond it. And I just wanna get behind it and watch you back it up and dump it, back it up. Cause we like her too, and we like her, we like her.
Whether it will hold one man fully accountable for the deaths of Mya Johnson and her child, or whether the manslaughter framing, already a concession from what the evidence seemed to support, will become the ceiling of consequence in a case that demanded more. Those questions are still open as this case moves toward a courtroom. In the months following Mya's death, the case drew attention far beyond Tallahassee. Her story was picked up by femicide awareness organizations, domestic violence advocates, and true crime communities who saw in it a pattern that is painfully familiar. A young black woman in a relationship with documented signs of control and instability. An argument about something that was a symptom rather than the disease, a gun in the home, a child left without a mother. The tributes that poured in from people who knew Mya and people who had never met her all circled back to the same things. Her strength as a mother, her honesty, the way she built businesses and raised children and showed up for her life, even when it was hard. She had been publicly vocal about the messiness of relationships and the difficulty of single motherhood. And the people who had followed her saw in that honesty something that deserved to be protected.
Stop making me laugh. That's what you the way.
The nurse, how far do you think the baby dilated? Hun, I really don't feel like you're ready. I think you gotta get like to a 10. Let me check for you.
I be losing my mind every time you take me to your wonderland. When I look into
Her Instagram account is now memorialized. The posts she made in life, photos of her children, promos for her Lash business, moments of humor and exhaustion and love are still there. They remain as documentation of a woman who was more than what happened to her on October 22nd. A community Facebook group, Justice for Mya Johnson was organized in the aftermath of her death by people who refused to let the case fade quietly into the backlog of unreported grief. Mya's 2 young sons are now being raised by family. They are growing up without the woman who was their entire world. The child who told investigators he shot our mom will carry those words and everything that came before and after them for the rest of his life. That is the real cost of what happened on River Breeze Lane. Not just the legal charges and the bail hearings and the pending trial. 2 boys without a mother, an unborn child who never had a chance, a lash technician from Chicago who came to Tallahassee and built something for herself and her children and had it taken away over an Instagram like and over a pregnancy and over a relationship that had been given too many more chances than it deserved. May Mya Johnson rest in perfect peace. She was 26 years old. She had built a beauty business from the ground up and was growing a men's clothing line while raising 2 sons on her own. She was funny and honest and refused to pretend her life was more polished than it was. She deserved to watch her boys grow up. She deserved to build every version of the future she had been working toward. She deserved to make whatever decision she chose about her body and her pregnancy without it costing her everything. For anyone reading this who recognizes the pattern described in Mya's story, the monitoring, the arguments that keep happening and never resolve, the feeling that leaving is complicated, but staying might be worse, the complications of leaving are solvable. The complications of staying can become permanent. There are resources, there are advocates, and there are people whose entire purpose is to help you find a way out before the situation reaches the point that Mya's did. And for the people in Mya's community and beyond who are watching the Leon County Circuit Court and waiting on a verdict that reflects the truth of what happened to her and her child, keep watching, keep saying her name, keep making sure the people responsible for delivering justice know someone is paying attention. Let me know what you think in the comments section below.
You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay. It's free. You should have paid that $1. They smoking on down here.
I need to take me a picture, bitch. I'm bad as fuck on my mama, son. That's what you the way.
Nurse, how far do you think the baby dilated? Hun, I really don't feel like you're ready. I think you gotta get like to a 10. Let me check for you.
Doing the video.
Me and her. I met her. Where the bread? Let me see it.
Oh, I ain't got none. Let me get you some bread.
I eat the most, but I eat the most.
You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay.
They want to know why I'm mad. Oh my God!
Tell my bitch, you trying to be like, bitch, why you lying?
You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay. It's free. You should have paid that $1. They smoking on down here.
I'll be losing my mind every time you take me to your wonderland. When I look into
Stop making me laugh.
I don't trust her. If you ain't got no money, don't touch her. Yeah, come on. Act bad, 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 act bad.
You look good, act bad. You look good, act bad. You look good, act bad.
We go together now?
Real bad.
Whatever you say.
I like that.
Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? There you go, baby. Bend that shit over.
They wanna know why I'm mad. I'm outside.
Tell my bitch, you trying me like bitch, why you lying? And we got chemistry, arguing and fighting, and we just keep our distance. I'm seeing you get different.
That's what get away.
Nurse, how far do you think the baby dilated? Hun, I really don't feel like you're ready. I think you gotta get like to a 10. Let me check for you.
Doing the video.
Me and her. I met her. Where the bread? Let me see.
Oh, I ain't got none.
Right.
Let me get you some bread.
I eat the most, but I eat the most. You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay.
They wanna know why I'm mad. I'm outside.
Tell my bitch, you trying me like bitch, why you lying? And we got chemistry, arguing and fighting, we just keep our distance. I'm seeing you get different.
You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay. It's free. You should have paid that dollar. It's smoking on down here.
I'll be losing my mind every time you take me to your wonderland. When I look into
Stop making me laugh.
I don't trust her. If you ain't got no money, don't touch her. Yeah, come on. Act bad, 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 act bad.
If you look good, act bad. To look good, act bad. To look good, act bad.
We go together now?
Real bad.
Whatever you say.
I like that.
Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? There you go, baby. Bend that shit over.
They wanna know why I'm mad. I'm outside.
Tell my bitch, you trying me like bitch, why you lying? And we got chemistry, arguing and fighting, and we just keep our distance. I'm seeing you get different.
You don't think it's no man, because y'all can't get a bag like this. You get a bag like this, you put that nigga in there, you know where you at all times, baby. All times.
Okay. It's free. You should have paid that dollar. It's smoking on down here.
I need to take me a picture, bitch. I'm bad as fuck on my mama, son.
It's free. You should have paid that dollar. It's smoking on down here.
I'll be losing my mind every time you take me to your wonderland. When I look into
Stop making me laugh.
I don't trust her. If you ain't got no money, don't touch her. Yeah, come on. Act bad, 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 act bad.
If you look good, act bad. To look good, act bad. To look good, act bad.
We go together now?
Real bad.
Whatever you say.
I like that.
Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? There you go, baby. Bend that shit over.
They wanna know why I'm mad. I'm outside.
I'll be losing my my mind every time you take me to your wonderland. When I look into...
Why is that making me laugh?